Hiya, and thanks for joining me here today for this review of X-Men Dark Phoenix. Now, I've been a big fan of the X-Men films for many years. Ever since the first one came out, I own them all on Blu-ray, with a few exceptions. I don't own the Wolverine standalone movies, apart from Logan, and I don't own Apocalypse because I thought that was pretty disappointing. But I have the original trilogy, even Last Stand, on Blu-ray, and you know, I've kind of watched this series grow up with those original characters. I watched the original cartoon series when I was younger, probably still a bit too old to be watching it, but I was fascinated by the X-Men. I love those characters. There were always someone, people in there that were really interesting. And Mystique as a character for someone like myself is someone who is particularly interesting. That ability to change your form, change your shape at will is a fascinating idea, and something that I was always very interested in when I was younger. Now, I guess like most people, realise that the X-Men franchise has been a bit up and down. It's had its hits and its misses. X-Men 2 have been pretty good. Last Stand was terrible. Origins Wolverine was bad. The Wolverine was pretty bad. Logan was amazing. Days of Future Past was great. First Class was pretty good, and Apocalypse was really very disappointing. And I've had an issue with how some of the characters have been treated with this new cast. And I was hoping that this film would give this new cast, our new Cyclops, our new Jean Grey, our new Storm, etc., a chance to really shine, to come into their own in a way that they haven't been allowed to. To my mind, they haven't been written to in these most recent films, particularly Apocalypse. I think Storm in particular has been really, really badly served, and I think that's a real shame. So I went into this with the usual hopes of an X-Men film, which is that it will either be amazing, like Days of Future Past, or it will be a complete disaster, like Apocalypse. And this, for me, was neither. It was kind of very middle of the road, good in places. It had good parts. You can really tell that this film has been through some fairly turbulent times with reshoots and direction, for example. It's the second time they've tried to get this right, this Dark Phoenix story right. And it's directed and written by the same guy who wrote the original Last Stand story of Jean Grey and the Dark Phoenix storyline, and did such a bad job of bringing that to life last time. So, really not a lot to, I guess, look forward to in how this is panning out with this new director. Anyway, I thought I'd give it the benefit of the doubt, see how it goes. Now, I thought the film had some interesting things that they really built on. So if we start with the positives, I thought that the actual performance by some of the characters was excellent, by some of the actors. Michael Fassbender as Magneto is amazing. He has some of the most amazing scenes when he is, really emoting and showing the struggle of what he's doing, and particularly when sort of countering Jean. I thought Sophie Turner was much better in this film. I think she really kind of grew into the role. They gave her a bit more to work with. And even though she's kind of just a MacGuffin being moved around by other characters and being kind of manipulated, I thought she did a good job of acting. She sort of had more emotion to her, more depth. As usual, James McAvoy is great as Xavier, even though I thought their choices with him in this film were pretty odd and very different from what you would actually expect from Professor Xavier. I thought it was an interesting way to take things, and very much out of character with the character that we grew up with in the original films, and he's supposed to put his kind of playboy, manipulative life behind him, and he's supposed to be someone who isn't quite what they paint him to be in this film. I won't go into any spoilers at this point, but I thought that was disappointing as well. And then some of the other characters, again, I thought Nightcrawler was underused. Storm, again, badly used. I think Hank Beast was kind of there or thereabouts. It was fine. And again, the less we say about Mystique and about Jennifer Lawrence, the better, really. I think she did a better job of acting in the film. She certainly tried to sort of, I think, put a bit more effort into it. But again, her sort of lack of commitment to being dressed and appearing as the character Mystique and always appearing as Jennifer Lawrence, I think it shows, and you know, it's really pandering to the needs of one person, it seems, rather than doing what's right for the series. And that was where it kind of leads me into the worst thing about this film for me. This film does feel like it's trying to do, it doesn't really know what it wants to do. So if we look at the story of Jean Grey, in Apocalypse, they referred to this strength and this power inside Jean Grey, release your power. Like the Phoenix was always in her. And yet in this film, the Phoenix comes from an external cosmic force. And we are kind of given two ways in which she could be the Phoenix. It could be all of her latent powers and everything that's kind of, that Professor Xavier has hidden from her, because of the trauma that she suffered in her past, or this alien influence. And we kind of get both smushed together. Either one done in that direction, so solely alien influence or solely natural innate power unleashed by trauma and tragedy, either of these things would be fine on their own, but they chose to do both. And I thought that was, that was indicative of them not really knowing what they wanted to do and trying to throw in everything. Maybe it was reshoots. Maybe they tried to course correct this and try to address this with reshoots, and it's hard to tell what's old and what's new. They've at least done a good job of covering that up in a way that they didn't do, for example, with the Fat Four Stick. But I think that's a real sort of shame and disappointment of the film. Another thing to say is the enemies in this film are weak, incredibly weak. I love Jessica Chastain. I think she's a great actress, but in this film she just has nothing to do. Just appears, shapeshifts, which is quite cheap. It's a very cheap way of dealing with your alien characters by having them just appear as human. And she is just there, and you never really understand what it is she wants. She wants this power, but you don't know why. And it's to restore her people, but you don't really understand why. It's kind of the exact same motivations as Zod in Man of Steel, where his motivation is to restore Krypton on Earth. And that's kind of what they're getting at here, but you don't understand any of the backstory. You don't even know who they are. I mean, in the cartoon series, it was Lilandra from the Shi'ar. That was something that was, was very clear. You had these external influences from the cosmos, but we don't even get real names or characters or anything at all. These are just, it's nowhere near as good as they did it with the Skrulls in Captain Marvel, and that's saying something. It was very, very weak. So all in all, the story's muddled. It's mixed up, it's difficult to follow, it's inconsistent spectacle. So there are times when the fights, characters underuse their powers, and then they, in earlier fight scenes in the film, then at the end of the film, they're throwing their powers around all over the place. But, characters fight and flip-flop their emotions and their reasons for doing things. Magneto is on one side, then the other, then back again, and he's all over this place, yo-yoing around. And, there really is no consistency to the film. It's weak. With that in mind, I would give the film a 5 out of 10. I mean, it's not bad. It was watchable. It was enjoyable. There were bits I liked, and there were bits I thought, okay, that's fun. We can get on board with some of these things. But all in all, decidedly average, which is not what I expect from X-Men film. I normally expect something great like X-Men 2 or Days of Future Past, or I expect something that's a complete dumpster fire, like X-Men Origins Wolverine or Apocalypse, which was tedious, really tedious. So yeah, have you seen the film? What do you think about it? It's not doing well at the box office. I think deservedly so. I think X-Men need a break. I'm hoping Marvel won't do anything with them for maybe 5 years, now that it's under the Disney banner. So hopefully leave it alone, give it a good 5 years to cool off, maybe a bit longer, and just bringing in a couple of characters at a time. I think that would be interesting and nice to see what they can do with it. But now's as good a time to recast. I don't think anyone will come back again. I don't think we'll see any of this cast back in these roles ever again. I think we're done. So have you seen the film? What do you think of it? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to contact me for any reason, get me through my email address, which is julietisnoir@gmail.com, or through my website, julietnoir.gk. Feel free to like, share and subscribe. Click the little bell to stay notified about upcoming videos. I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Thanks as ever, and Bye. Bye.